Hello. Today's episode number 22 of the Professor Slots podcast discusses who sets odds for slot machines, plus slot machine casino gambling in the U.S. state of Louisiana. Thank you for joining me for the Professor Slots podcast show. I'm John Friedel, and this is a podcast about slot machine casino gambling. It is where I provide the knowledge, insights, and tools for helping you improve your slot machine gambling performance. Show notes for this episode are within most podcast apps or at professorslots.com/E22.
John Friedel from the Professor Slots blog reveals all his tips and tricks for thriving in the casino environment. Choose winning slot machines and identify your gambling goals. Being entertained, earning comps, winning take-home cash, or combining them. John has won 90 taxable jackpots and a luxury car in 9 months of slot play and made a profit at slots gambling since 2013.
In case you missed it, on last week's episode I went over how to win at slots at older casinos by telling you the story of how I did it myself by winning 13 taxable jackpots in 6 days on a $1 denomination, 5 credit, 5 times play slot machine back in 2004. Also last week, I reviewed Kentucky slot machine casino gambling, including Kentucky's troubled history with illegal gambling and organized crime in Newport, the original Sin City, across the Ohio River from Cincinnati, Ohio. I hope you enjoyed listening to my last episode as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Remember to visit professorslots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. Let's get started with the first episode of the show. Who sets winning odds? Who controls slot machine odds is a popular question from slots enthusiasts. It's quite an interesting question, which I thought my audience would appreciate an answer to. My most recent encounter with this general question was during the Q&A segment of another gambling podcast, episode 634 from 500 by Midnight. They had a question from their audience member, David, which was, when a new themed penny slot debuts, what is the typical hold percentage? Does it vary by machine, casino, or both? Tim and Michelle, co-hosts of the long-lasting 500 by Midnight, a gambling podcast that talks all about Las Vegas, answered the question well, if somewhat briefly. I'm sure my own audience would like the answer too, so I've decided to provide a few more details and a more general answer with a bit of the why of it all. This segment has the following subsections: an introduction, a bit of background on legal requirements, a bit of history on physically setting odds, what's changed lately, slot machine types based on how odds are set, identifying who controls a slot machine's odds. Does it really matter who controls slot machine odds? Yes. And a summary. To answer this question of who sets winning odds on slot machines, I'll need to delve into a bit of recent history to explain how odds are set in older-style standalone slot machines using a random number generator. This way is how most people believe the odds are currently set on all slot machines, including modern ones. But starting around 2008, a lot has changed with this method. Many changes have been caused by the emergence of new gaming technologies, both to slot machines, but also with the development of casino operating software for increased efficiency and therefore lower operating costs for the casino. With so many more people visiting casinos in the last decade, and with profit margins getting smaller every year, casino operators find they cannot afford to ignore the savings opportunities of these new technologies. The second driver for the change to how slot machines are controlled is due to ongoing developments in statutory regulations for gaming jurisdictions. In the United States, these gaming jurisdictions are the states, territories, or federal district that legally allows gaming. In essence, casino operators have to follow the gaming regulations for the jurisdiction in which they are located in. In part, these gaming jurisdictions often include laws which place an upper and lower limit on the payback return for slot machines. To not lose their gaming license or to otherwise get in trouble with gaming authorities, casino operators must remain in compliance with these gaming requirements. Note that commercial casinos have to comply to gaming regulations as set by the U.S. state, territory, or federal district they are located in. However, Native American tribal casinos also have to comply with their own set of gaming requirements, but these are usually not based on state law. Rather, these are carefully defined by each tribe within a state-tribal compact negotiated with the state and ultimately approved by the U.S. Department of the Interior. So, within this overall context, who controls slot machine odds? At a high level, gaming regulators determine the legal limits, if any, for payout returns on slot machines. This is accomplished via state law or negotiated compacts, as mentioned, and usually does not change for decades, if that. Casino operators are, often but not always, required to provide weekly or monthly reports on actual payout returns to show that they are compliant. Sometimes, depending on each gaming jurisdiction, these statistical reports are then provided to the public by the State Gaming Commission. Going further, these regular reports can break down these payout returns by casino, table games, slot machines, gaming machines, or even by the denomination of slot machines within a specific casino. What is done is very specific to the gaming jurisdiction in which the casino is located. Given all this variability of what is or is not done within a U.S. gaming jurisdiction, I've already created a blog article series for my audience of slots enthusiasts to help them navigate this dynamic environment of state-specific gaming regulations. For more information on your specific state, territory, or federal district, see my primary article on this, Slot Machine Casino Gambling State by State, a weekly blog. So, at a high level, slot machines are controlled by gaming regulators by the placement of legal requirements for payout return percentages. Sometimes, however, these state-specific gaming regulators do not set limits on payout returns. When this happens, casino operators do not have a legal requirement for setting payout returns. However, to remain open and not close due to lack of customers, they still have to be careful to not set the payout return too low. It's worth noting that many gaming regulations set a low limit on payout returns, which casino operators deliberately stay well above. To do so is just good business. The random number generator was originally developed for slot machines by Bally Technologies in 1984. About a decade later, most slot machines had a random number generator, which allowed for easily adjustable odds of winning. Beforehand, the odds of winning were set in an entirely mechanical manner. This worked well for decades, until the technological development of slot machines began to cause problems. Basically, as credits to bet and number of pay lines increased, the physical mechanisms for determining odds began to reach certain physical limits. Slot enthusiasts loved having the choice of many more credits to bet, as well as playing a slot machine with more than one pay line. Increased credits and pay lines also led to much higher jackpots. All of these developments led to odds of winning being needed for many more possible outcomes, which mechanical devices for determining the odds of winning could not handle. In fact, these mechanical devices began to fall behind and actually become less and less random in nature. As an aside, the topic of randomness is actually quite interesting. True randomness is very difficult, if not literally impossible, to generate. Often, when randomness is needed in either a mechanical or electrical device, various methods are used which are random enough. In fact, there is no such thing as a random number generator. At best, there are only pseudo-random number generators, one variant of which was patented by Bally Technologies in 1984. So the invention of the random number generator solved for slot machine manufacturers this limitation of mechanical devices for determining randomness in slot machines. But it also created another problem. With adjustable odds of winning by electronic random number generators, casinos would need to have a workforce to do that adjusting. And so that is what casinos did. They built and trained a workforce of slot mechanics to adjust the odds of winning on their new slot machines to meet their desired performance metrics. However, the size of that workforce would increase tremendously depending on how often those odds of winning were adjusted. For older style slot machines, this is at least 7 days and maybe as much as 2 weeks, as I've expressed in Professor Slots episode number 21, Winning at Slots on Older Casinos, Kentucky Slots 2018. Most recently, since 2012 or so, relatively newer casinos have been able to reduce this costly workforce thanks to new casino operating systems. These systems not only help casinos manage large promotional events with less customer issues, but also allow them to remotely adjust the odds of winning on slot machines connected to the casino's central computer system. Of course, this connection to the casino's central computer system is currently limited to a wired connection due to potential security concerns as well as Wi-Fi bandwidth limits for thousands of slot machines. As a result, using a central computer in this manner is only possible if it is wired up. Doing so requires sufficient building infrastructure, such as clearances beneath floors and behind walls, to allow for these cable connections. This is possible in all new casinos being built, as well as older casinos that have been heavily renovated, with more than simply new carpeting or wallpaper. With wired connections from slot machines to a central computer, the reduced cost of a smaller workforce of slot mechanics, much faster adjustment of daily or even hourly casino performance metrics, and more satisfied customers due to efficiently run events, the question remains, who controls slot machine odds? Slot machines can be divided up into methods by which their odds of winning are set. These slot machine types include 1. Standalone. 2. Casino-specific progressives. 3. Multi-casino progressives. 4. Statewide progressives. 5. Remotely controlled on-site by casino. And 6. Remotely controlled off-site by gaming regulators. Standalone slot machines are those which are most often found in older casinos, but are technically those slot machines which include within their cabinets the ability to set and provide odds of winning with a random number generator. A workforce of slot mechanics adjusts the odds of winning periodically as directed by the casino operator. In general, there is a limited number of settings available for these older slot machines. YouTube videos are available from individuals who have personally purchased an older style standalone slot machine and show exactly how these odds are set. For these videos I have viewed, there are 6 possible settings which could be entered after opening up the slot machine door. These settings are based on codes from a booklet provided by the slot machine manufacturer for each slot machine. Keep in mind that videos such as these are a general source of knowledge most people have about the internal workings of slot machines. Employees of slot machine manufacturers and casinos with access to these payout settings simply aren't sharing this information due to non-disclosure agreements and other legal restrictions. Besides which, accessing the control for changing the odds of a slot machine is quite problematic. The slot machine is alarmed, so any tampering without official access with an employee card key, entry code, physical key are required to even open a slot machine door, not to mention the casino surveillance system sees all. Discussing the 3 types of progressive slot machines will be the dedicated topic for another time. I'll discuss how the ownership of these progressive slot machines matters with regards to how the odds of winning are set. Briefly, the amount of the progressive jackpot is primarily based on how many slot machines are included. These can be a carousel of slot machines in a certain area of one casino. It can be a larger number of slot machines located throughout a casino, or a large number of progressive slot machines located at multiple casinos. This large group could actually be of 2 types, multiple properties of the same casino operator, or multiple casino operators within a single gaming jurisdiction, such as a state. Already discussed are slot machines remotely controlled on-site at a casino through the use of a central computer operating system. Only new or heavily renovated casinos have the facility infrastructure to handle the sheer number of cables necessary. If they are controlled on-site, these slot machines have their odds of winning adjusted daily or hourly by this remote access. How often these adjustments are made is, rather unfortunately at this time, a matter of debate. I'm currently trying to track down state legal requirements of which I'd heard rumors of. The rumor I heard was that a slot machine must be idle for at least 15 minutes without a player's card being inserted before the casino is legally allowed to remotely adjust its odds of winning. Further, the rumor stated that this practice was typical and originally based on Nevada gaming requirements. However, this rumor doesn't pass the so-called smell test. At this time, I've currently reviewed state gaming regulations for over 38 U.S. states, territories, or federal district. I've yet to find any substantiation for this rumor. Alternatively, it may well be an accepted business practice built into the advanced operating systems. Why do I feel strongly that slot players are protected from having their odds of winning reduced while playing? It's simple. The State Control Board controls the odds of winning on slot machines, and everything I've seen, read, and studied tells me they work for you. I just can't imagine state gaming commissions would allow this. They all have careful casino operating system approval processes in place to prevent it, and any casino that decides not to be fully compliant is in for a world of hurt if or when they are caught. Finally, there are slot machines having their odds controlled off-site by state gaming regulators. These are most video lottery terminal style slot machines. Video lottery terminals are, as their name implies, instant lottery machines. This means they are controlled by the state lottery, which is set up to handle many such terminals at any given moment. Who controls slot machine odds on the slot machine you're sitting at? Who controls slot machine odds at a casino you are considering whether or not to visit? As I've discussed before, both on my webpage, Assessing Casinos, as well as Professor Slots Podcast episode number 3, Assessing Casinos Alaska Slots 2017, deciding which local casino you want to spend your time at is an important decision for determining your baseline success at slots. So, you'll likely want to know who controls slot machine odds when you're choosing between, for instance, an older pre-2012 casino with standalone slot machines or a casino with many new video slot machines. The top-level choice is really about your own gambling goals, as I've also discussed on my webpage, Identifying Gambling Goals, or alternatively, within Professor Slots Podcast number 5, Identifying Gambling Goals, Arizona Slots 2017. But whether your gambling goal is maximum entertainment, earning comps, or take-home money, having better odds of winning on a slot machine will help accomplish that goal. So, ignoring other considerations such as drive time, the spread at the buffet, players' club rewards, and etc., the type of slot machine is likely a consideration. Casinos with standalone slot machines, where the actual machine in front of you has its own dedicated random number generator, is relatively easily determined. Ask someone, how old is the casino? Or if you don't want to ask someone or look it up online, take a look at the slot machine in front of you. Specifically, look at the player card interface area. What does its display look like? Is it a touchscreen? Or is it an LED display, which like you would see outside of a bank displaying the time and temperature for a passerby to see? If it's a touchscreen, the slot machine is most likely not standalone. If it's an LED, it is most likely a standalone slot machine. Determining whether or not a progressive slot machine is connected to a single carousel, across several carousels within a casino, across several casinos owned by a single casino operator, or across several casino operator properties will be, as previously mentioned, the topic of an upcoming episode. Next up are non-video style slot machines with touchscreens at the player's card interface. These are all slot machines centrally controlled by a computer on-site at the casino. You can confirm this by learning the date of the casino's original opening or when it was last heavily renovated. It needs to be roughly mid to late 2012 for it to be a newer style casino. Keep in mind that some casinos have both, assuming they have expanded their original structure without renovating it by building another casino facility right next to it. This is the case with Foxwoods Resorts in Connecticut, which is an older style casino. However, they recently built Fox Tower, which is a newer style casino, and these are side by side. Finally, there are video slot machines. It can be difficult, if not impossible, to tell the difference by looking at it between a video slot machine and a video lottery terminal. A video slot machine, if that is what it truly is controlled on-site by the central computer at the casino. A video lottery terminal is controlled off-site by the state lottery. The only sure way to tell the difference between these two slot machine types is to take a look at what the State Gaming Commission says they are. For instance, in Ohio, there are currently 4 commercial casino resorts and 7 pari-mutuel racinos. All have slot machines. The 4 commercial casinos have traditional, real, and video slot machines, all controlled on-site by a central computer. But Ohio's 7 racinos have a mix of traditional, real, and video lottery terminal slot machines. The traditional real slot machines are controlled on-site with a central computer, while all the video lottery terminals, all of which look just like video slot machines, are controlled off-site by the state lottery's central computer system. And you would only know this if you went to the Ohio Gaming Commission's website and read there that that's the case. With this improved understanding of how casinos work, let's consider these 2 facts. First, that there are types of slot machines, specifically as a standalone or remotely controlled by casino operator or state. Second, that there are several ways these slots can have their odds of winning set on an ongoing basis, depending on their specific type. So yes, actually, it does matter who controls slot machine odds. Why is that? Because this is where patterns of winning are found. When slot machines are set up to be as random as possible, and that assigned level of randomness is unchanged over days and weeks or more, then long-term statistics principles apply. Meaning, on average, people will always lose money playing slots. This applies to all slot machines controlled by the state, such as video lottery terminals. But when the odds are changed hourly or set over 100% for promotional purposes, then there are better times to play a slot machine, and all slot enthusiasts need do is figure out when that better time is in order to win more, and potentially even make a profit. That's what I did. Make a profit by looking for and finding winning patterns when I won 90 taxable jackpots in 9 months recently. Odds are changed hourly or set for promotional purposes only by casino operators. The state has no need to do so, as they get their money no matter what, while the casino is a business trying to succeed. The casino puts in the time and energy to hit their financial performance metrics. The casinos hire the best general manager, who themselves hire the best possible team, all to accomplish this goal. Put another way, the casino has a business need to adjust the odds of winning on their slot machines to eke out a living, while the state only needs to be patient. Businesses are not patient. They try things. And really, that struggle is what has changed with the winning odds of slot machines since about 2012. Casinos are always trying new things. And when they have control over setting the odds of slot machines, they adjust them to try these new things. Before 2012, this amounted to increasing the odds of winning to over 100% temporarily on a single slot machine near a busy area in their casino, as a promotional tool with its own limited budget. With the new casino operating technologies available since 2012, casinos have gotten finer control over setting these odds. This has allowed them to try new things, which they like to do. These new things are to adjust the odds of winning on slots more often. In financial terms, they're trying to tune their financial performance metrics on a daily basis, something that has never before been possible. I have never worked for a casino operator, so have never been pitched a new casino operating system by a slot manufacturer's sales team. But it's obvious that this tuning is part of the pitch being made to casino operators. Without having seen this pitch, how can I believe this? Simple. I've won a lot at slots through pattern recognition. What's happening is that, however it came about, casinos have bought into the idea of finely tuning their financial performance metrics. In the case of slot machines, which is the only game a casino offers that I'm interested in, they've broken the randomness of odds of winning on a slot machine. Therefore, as most statisticians know, patterns emerge. So again, yes, it does matter who controls slot machine odds, because those controlled by the casino have had their randomness broken. It matters because slots enthusiasts can look for emerging patterns on these casino-controlled machines, then use them to win more. In the future, I'll talk about the winning patterns I've found. In the meantime, I hope I've made it clear about how and why they exist. In summary, who controls slot machine odds is answered by answering they are controlled by the machine, the casino staff, both, possibly the state if the machine is a video lottery terminal, and by slot machine manufacturers themselves in the case of most progressive slot machines. This control over odds of winning was historically a mechanical device, supplanted by an electronic random number generator invented in 1984, afterwards allowing slot machines to be developed having more and more credits, denominations, and pay lines. There's currently older style casinos with standalone slot machines and newer style casinos built to have the facility infrastructure needed to wire up their slot machines to be remotely controlled by a computer server. I've discussed how to tell the difference, as well as explained how slot machines can be remotely controlled by the casino, or in the case of video lottery terminals, by computers established for this purpose by the state lottery agency. Finally, I've discussed if any of this matters to slots enthusiasts looking for an advantage. It does matter. In essence, any slot machines with odds of winning directly controlled by a casino have patterns because casinos keep adjusting those odds to meet their financial performance metrics. And these patterns make it possible for savvy slot enthusiasts, like I know you are, to improve your gambling performance. Remember to visit ProfessorSlots.com/subscribe to get your free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. Show notes for this episode are now available within most podcast apps, but are also available on my website at ProfessorSlots.com/E22. Up next is the second segment of the show, Louisiana slot machine casino gambling. In this episode segment, I provide a brief overview of the current state of gambling in a U.S. state, U.S. territory, or U.S. federal district, emphasizing, by far, anything of interest to slot machine casino gamblers. Each state-by-state episode segment can be expected to include an introduction, relevant legal statutes on gambling, slot machine private ownership, state gaming commission, gambling establishments, and a summary. Here goes. Louisiana slot machine casino gambling includes 15 riverboat casinos, Harrah's land-based casino in New Orleans, 4 pari-mutuel casinos with slot machines, and 3 American Indian tribal casinos. The gaming industry has become an important part of Louisiana's culture and economy. In the 1920s, pari-mutuel wagering was approved by the state of Louisiana. In the early 1980s, the collapse of the state's oil-based economy led to an expansion in other forms of legalized gambling. The primary type of Louisiana slot machine casino gambling consists of electronic video bingo, which by definition in Louisiana state gaming regulations is considered in general to be a slot machine or electronic gaming device. The legal age of gambling in Louisiana is 18 for pari-mutuel betting and 21 for the lottery. Historically, Louisiana has had a long history of illegal casinos, with the state alternating between raiding illegal casino operations and ignoring them. Louisiana was the 4th U.S. state to legalize riverboat casinos, approved by the state legislature in 1991, along with the return of the state lottery. A provision was made in 1992 for a land-based casino to be located in New Orleans. Negotiations began in 1993 for state tribal compacts with 3 federally recognized American Indian tribes to open land-based casinos, eventually approved by the federal government. A 4th Native American tribe, recognized in 2002, later negotiated a state tribal compact and eventually gained U.S. Department of Interior approval as well. Efforts by parimutuel facilities to add slot machines were eventually successful at 3 tracks in 1997 and later for a 4th track. Ambiguity in state gaming regulations regarding the definition of truck stops allowed video poker to be added by many businesses and has spread across the state. Next up is a short statement about slot machine private ownership, which I've included in case you live in Louisiana. Here it is. In Louisiana, it is legal to privately own a slot machine only if it is 25 years old or older. The Louisiana Gaming Control Board's mission statement is, quote, to regulate all gaming activities under its jurisdiction in a manner which instills public confidence and trust that gaming activities are conducted honestly and free from criminal and corruptive elements, to ensure the integrity of individual gaming activities by the regulations of persons, practices, associations, and activities within the gaming industry, unquote. Other state gaming commissions in Louisiana include a Riverboat Gaming Commission, the State Lottery, and a division of charitable gaming for charitable bingo, keno, and raffles. Louisiana state gaming regulations require that gaming machines in casinos be programmed with a payout percentage between 80% and 99.9%. For video gaming machines at non-casino locations, the payout percentage must be between 80% and 94%. Gambling at non-tribal casinos in the state of Louisiana was divided by state gaming law into 4 physical regions. Now, I've decided recently to make a small change to this section of talking about a various state. I'm not going to read off many percentage numbers because these are not easily interpreted verbally, but they're all listed on my website. So if you would go to professorslots.com/E22 and click on the link for Louisiana slots, you'll see these numbers. The 4 different regions in Louisiana are Baton Rouge, Lake Charles, New Orleans, and Shreveport-Bossier City. Each of these has several casinos that are located within it. State gaming regulations provide the payout return on slot machines for the 1-cent machine, 5-cent machine, quarter machine, $1 machine, $5 machine, and a combination of all electronic machines. You can find the specific numbers for these payout returns on my website if you go to professorslots.com/E22 and click on the link for Louisiana slot machine casino gambling. As is often the case with the negotiated state tribal compacts, any required levels of payout return percentages for American Indian casinos in Louisiana, if they exist at all, are unknown. In this next section, I'll discuss Louisiana gambling establishments. I've thought about not verbally telling you the names of each state's casinos, even when there are only a couple of dozen, as with Louisiana. But I found that I like to say the names of casinos. They are often interesting, but more personally, I just like saying them. However, as usual, the website links for each casino, assuming they have a website, is available by clicking on the segment show notes available at professorslots.com/E22. Louisiana's single land-based Harrah's New Orleans Casino and Hotel is the largest casino with 3,800 gaming machines and 105 table games. The second largest casino is the American Indian Tribal Casino Paragon Casino Resort with 2,200 gaming machines and 45 table games. The 24 casinos in Louisiana are Amelia Belle Casino, a riverboat casino, Belle of Baton Rouge, a riverboat casino, Boomtown Casino and Hotel Bossier City, a riverboat casino, Boomtown Casino New Orleans, a riverboat casino, Coshada Casino Resort, a tribal casino, Cypress Bayou Casino, a tribal casino, Delta Downs Racetrack and Casino, a parimutuel casino, Diamond Jacks Casino Bossier City, a riverboat casino, Eldorado Casino Shreveport, a riverboat casino, Evangeline Downs Racetrack and Casino, a pari-mutuel facility. Fairgrounds Race Course and Slots, a pari-mutuel facility. Golden Nugget Casino Lake Charles, a riverboat casino. Harrah's Louisiana Downs, a pari-mutuel facility. Harrah's New Orleans Casino and Hotel, a land-based non-tribal casino. Hollywood Casino Baton Rouge, a riverboat. Horseshoe Casino Hotel Bossier City, a riverboat. Isle of Capri Casino Lake Charles, a riverboat. Jenna Choctaw Pines Casino, a tribal casino. L'Auberge Casino Hotel Baton Rouge, a riverboat. L'Auberge Casino Resort Lake Charles, a riverboat. Margaritaville Resort Casino Bossier City, a riverboat. Paragon Casino Resort, a tribal casino. Sam's Town Hotel and Casino Shreveport, a riverboat. And Treasure Chest Casino, a riverboat. In summary, Louisiana's slot machine casino gambling includes riverboat casinos, a land-based casino, pari-mutuel casinos with slot machines, and American Indian tribal casinos. Electronic gaming machines in Louisiana consists of video poker, which the state legislature has defined as a slot machine. The gaming industry has become an important part of Louisiana's culture and economy, including adding slot machines to pari-mutuel facilities and the spread of video poker across loosely defined truck stops across the state. Remember to visit ProfessorSlots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. If you'd like to provide a rating and review for this podcast, which may well help other slots enthusiasts decide to take a listen to one or more of my episodes, simply use your podcast app. Visit ProfessorSlots.com/Apple Podcasts if you're an Apple device user, or visit ProfessorSlots.com/Android for Android users. Again, I have a few more interviews coming up shortly, but I'll wait to tell you about them until they've actually come out. It should be any day now. Part 1 of the next episode of the Professor Slots podcast has, once again, not yet been determined. Part 2 of the next episode of the Professor Slots podcast is another brief overview of the current state of gambling in a U.S. state, territory, or federal district. This time I'll be talking to you about the great U.S. state of Maine. That's the end of another great episode of the Professor Slots podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Show notes for this episode can be found within most podcast apps or at ProfessorSlots.com/E22. I plan to have the next episode come out very soon for you, where I'll have more amazing content for the show. Until the next episode, have fun, be safe, and make good choices. Bye.